everybody. I'm going to give you a review of how to use masks, the selection tools, both quick selection and the magic wand tool, how to use layer masks, and how you can implement using a quick mask to help you make a selection. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to open the image that I'm going to work on. I know that I can go into the folders that I've created on my desktop. For this example, I'm going to use this landscape. So I'm going to select to open it in Photoshop. And here I have it in Photoshop to work with. I'm going to place my first object onto this landscape. So I'll go to File, Place. I'll find my object. I'm going to use this cow as an example, and I will place it. Once I've placed the object, I need to remember to select Return in order to finish completing and letting Photoshop know that I am going to place it. You'll notice that down here, I'm going to slide it into the middle. Down here you'll see what keystrokes I am doing as I go. Okay, so I've placed my cow, and because it has a solid color background, a great tool to use to select the background is our magic wand tool. Our magic wand tool is the fourth tool down on the left-hand side in our toolbar. It lives with our quick selection tool, so if it's not visible, if I click, wait, and release, I can now select the magic wand tool. Using the magic wand tool, I'm going to make a selection clicking on the white area. Remember that the magic wand tool makes a selection based off of color, so it's going to select everything else that is the same color white. The reason it doesn't select the white in the cow is because there's a pretty large difference between the white in the background and the white in the cow. If you look at our tolerance level in the options menu, you can see that my tolerance is set to 32. You can play with your tolerance to make your magic wand tool select more colors that are closer together and colors that are farther apart depending on how you set your tolerance. So you can play around with that. So I've now selected the cow, or the background rather, and a common mistake is to go directly over to our layer masks, and you'll see what will happen is I've put a mask over the cow and not over the background. So no stress, no worries. I know that I can undo this. I'm gonna hold Command and use the Z key to undo what I just did. So what I need to do now is to inverse my selection. So I'm going to go to the Select File and Inverse, and then I'm going to go to my Layer Masks. From here, I'll get a selection of the cow without the background. You can see that the layer mask is to the right of the cow, and anything that's black is the area that I've masked out. Anything that's white is showing through. The next step is to transform my cow, which you know is we can do by holding down Command and pressing T. And now I have my handles that I can work with here. Don't forget that if you don't hold down Shift, you're going to get a distorted cow. But if you click Shift, you'll get a cow that you can size smaller or bigger depending on what you want. And I'm going to press Return to finish transforming. Let's do the next object. I'm going to go to File, Place, and in my landscape I'm going to choose to add a horse. Don't forget that I need to press Return to let Photoshop know that I'm going to place the horse. If I try to use the same strategy in this image, you'll notice that as I click with the magic wand tool, there's so much variation of color around the horse, I'm not going to be very successful in making a selection. So I'm going to deselect what I just selected by holding down Command and pressing D for deselect. And this time I'm going to use my quick selection tool instead of my magic wand tool. Our quick selection tool lives with our magic wand tool. So if I click, hold, and release, I have access now to my quick selection tool. The quick selection tool works almost like a brush. When you click and move over an area, it's going to select the area that you are brushing over. I can change the size of the tool by using the bracket keys that are just to the right of the letter P on your keyboard. One bracket, or the closed bracket, will make it smaller. The open bracket will make it bigger. I'm going to start at the back of the horse. I'm holding down my mouse and slowly dragging over the horse all the way down to its face. You'll notice that when I did this, I missed the horse's legs. So now I can hold down Shift, and Shift will allow me to add to my selection. I'm not going to worry at this point if my selection is perfect, because I can show you a strategy in a moment to refine it. If I've selected too many areas, like in between the legs here, I can hold down Option to drag that selection back up closer to the horse's body. Now you'll notice that there are still areas like in between the legs right here, around the hooves, that I need to clean up the selection for, but it's going to be really challenging for me to do it with the quick selection tool alone. So instead, I'm going to use something called a quick mask. A quick mask allows me to view the selection I've made and almost try on a mask before I commit to it. The quick mask lives right below your tiles, your color tiles. I'm zooming in to show you the selection. Okay, and here's my quick mask. The quick mask will make all of the areas outside of your selection pink, and all of the other areas will stay the same as the original image. What I can do now is use my paintbrush tool to add and subtract from my selection. Your paintbrush tool is the 8th tool down on your toolbar along the left-hand side. The paintbrush tool can also be modified by using the open and closed brackets. Notice that I'm painting with black because that is the tile in the foreground. And when I paint with black, I add to the pink areas, or you can think about them as the areas that will be invisible. If you have trouble remembering that, look over at our selection that we made for the cow. The black areas are the areas around the cow that we can no longer see, and the white areas are the cow itself. So we're going to apply that same idea to the horse. The black areas, or in this case the pink areas, while I have quick selection on, are the areas that I'm not going to see. And the horse will remain white because I do want to see the horse. So as I paint with black, I'm going to change the size of my brush. As I paint with black, if I accidentally go a little too far and maybe paint in an area that I did want to show up by accident, I can simply switch my color to now paint with white. I can do it with this little toggle here. And change the size of my brush, go a little faster. I can also switch between black and white. Notice what's happening to my tiles as I press X on my keyboard. They will switch back and forth. A shortcut to take your quick mask off is Q. Remember that you always have to take your quick mask off before you can apply a layer mask, or you're going to run into some problems. So I'm going to take my quick mask off using Q, and then I'm going to hit my layer masks. Now, I didn't make such a great selection, which you could have seen, but this was just to show you what would happen. I now need to take my move tool. Don't forget, you have to have the right tool in your hands to do the job you want to get done. And I can press Command T to transform, just like we've learned how to do. That's a really brief overview of making selections in Photoshop using both the magic wand tool, the quick selection tool, and creating masks using the quick mask and a layer mask. Hope you found this helpful.